Welcome to another DragonLance Saga review episode. It is Majitog New Cult the 6th. My name is Adam, and today I'm going to give you my review of The Citadel by Richard A. Knack. I would like to take a moment and thank the DL Saga members and Patreon patrons, and invite you to consider becoming a member or patron by visiting the link in the description below. You can even pick up DragonLance gaming materials using my affiliate links. Now, this is my perspective only. If yours differs, that's great. Share your thoughts in YouTube live chat or in Twitch live chat. Or, of course, if you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment in the comments below. Okay, so I do have a pre-written review. Afterward, I'll just riff a little bit on it, but that's kind of going to be the direction. I was forced to do an audiobook version of this because, one, I don't have the novel, and I was going to read it online, but the online version was checked out already, so I just had to do the audio version, which means I'm not 100% sure on the spelling or anything like that. That's just the way it works. Or the pronunciations, because the pronunciations are often wrong based on the audible performer. So you're stuck with that. That being said, let's get into it. All right, so this is a solid start to a story. We're in Christine with the red-robed wizard Tyrus and white-robed Leot. They're researching when the city is attacked by General Marcus Cadrio. He was a former member of the Black Dragon army who was trying to rally an army around him. He commands dragons, gargoyles, and 2 citadels, which pummeled Christine. However, the city is protected by 2 gold dragons who fight off many of the attackers. The gargoyles take the wizards, but Tyrus falls. He wakes after the battle to Captain Bacall, who shares the outcome. Immediately, Tyrus wants to travel to get back his friend Leot, who was taken. He goes to the gold dragons, who then refuse, as one of them is ready to deliver eggs. Cardio is met by a wizard named Vulcan, who wants to raise another citadel, an atrium, so that he travels there and they sacrifice Lemuel, a cleric of Takesis, in order to raise this new but different citadel. They used it to destroy the town of Norwich, but the new citadel destroyed one of Cadrio's other citadels in the process, as well as fighting off silver dragons defending the town. This infuriates Cadrio, who doesn't feel he can trust Vulcan. Back in Christine, Tyrus is visited by a cleric of Bronchala named Serene, who asks where Cadrio is. He doesn't know, but he asks if she needs help and introduces her to Captain Bacall. They travel together with 12 soldiers to meet up with a kender named Rap, short for Rapscallion, who invites griffins to carry them all in search of General Cadrio. Now, Rap actually raised and trained these griffins, which is why he has such a great relationship with them. They eventually arrive at Norwich, shocked by the devastation that remains from the flying citadel. They suddenly realize there was a motion in the clouds and saw Atrium Citadel flying concealed in the clouds. They moved to intercept it as they sent Rap to Gwynedd to get the gold dragons in order to aid in the attack. Simultaneously, the gargoyles that served Vulcan were beginning to mutiny as Stone was speaking with both General Cadrio and Tyrus about helping either of them overthrow Vulcan. Once the battle began, it was a brutal one, with lightning strikes and decimating foes. The black dragons joined and the gold dragons were defeated. Serene and Tyrus were taken into the citadel as captains as it slowly made its way to Gwynedd. General Cadrio and Vulcan were at each other's throats as well, vying for power, but Vulcan is clearly the victor. Selene realized that the love of her life she was searching for is actually Vulcan, but she was shocked to see the transformation in him. Vulcan showed Tyrus how he has been powering the citadel through the life force of captured magi, including Tyrus's friend Leot. He then curses him to be unable to cast magic and imprisons Tyrus again. Tyrus is saved by a gargoyle and Leot and escapes to report to Captain Bacall. Together they come up with a scheme to stop the citadel before it reaches Gwynedd. Captain Bacall, Tyrus, and Serene once again invade the citadel as it was staged to attack, and Tyrus was captured and replaced Leot as the power cell. Rap went to save him and was killed by Vulcan. Serene began to take control of the citadel, and the gargoyles attacked each other. Vulcan was playing General Cadrio off of his officer Xander as they fought the gold dragons with the black dragons. In the Atrium Citadel, they destroyed the helm which steers the citadel, but needed to also destroy the magical columns which powered it. Tyrus sent Bacall and Serene off of the citadel, and he went to destroy Vulcan and the cylinders, or both. When he arrived, Vulcan was busy focusing on the power, but after a short battle, Tyrus sent his staff hurling toward the cylinder and destroyed it, and the Citadel began falling from the sky. Vulcan was caught under the rubble and doomed to death as the gargoyles in his service fled. Outside, the Griffins saved them from falling from the fortress as it plummeted into its own army far below. Tyrus ended up living, and they made a cairn for Rap, where he had trained his griffins. The gargoyles came to pay homage to the heroes and went off as free beings. All in all, the story was interesting, but I had no idea when it was set in time. It kept referencing the War of the Lance and even Kitiara, but then made mention of the gods leaving, but everyone used magic, so I'm just confused. I suppose it doesn't really matter, as Knack put together an entertaining story with a horrid villain and interesting characters. So if you're a completionist, you should read this novel, but otherwise I think you could probably skip it. Justin, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Joker's demise. The writer has a real knack for this setting. The thing about this story is I had a hard time getting invested in it. It's just like a rando story with rando characters doing a rando war on Gwynedd. It references other major characters and events, but it never really places itself effectively in a timeline so that my head could figure out exactly what was going on with it. You need to reread this one. It's been a while since you spun through it. I'm not sure it's worth a reread, to be quite honest. The gargoyles were interesting, but every single character in this, all the bad guys and even the good guys, were sort of vying against each other in some way, which is really weird because you had no clarity of, oh, this is the ultimate goal. I mean, really, the ultimate goal was Vulcan to get his Citadel, which he got early on in the novel, and then just to wreak havoc, which he started to. But that was kind of it. There's no real indication about how he figured out how to use this new version of a Citadel, or, you know, what it could actually do, or what his ultimate goal was, other than world domination, presumably. Like, I just didn't really feel anything from this novel, which is weird because some of Knack's short stories I get emotion from, and this one even had moments that were devastating in it. You know, with Rap dying, for example, with Layot being tormented and killed, and Tyrus almost dying. But even that felt a little hollow. I didn't feel invested. All the bad guys had the Dragonlance bad guy trope of evil falling and consuming itself, which is great as an ending. It doesn't really work if that's the process the whole novel all along, because then you know that they're not going to succeed because they're actively vying against each other from the beginning. They should set them up as a universal mindset so that when they do start tumbling apart in the third act, it becomes an interesting, outcome. Like with the War of the Lance itself, it wasn't until Erika's died that everyone started freaking out and turning on each other in a really overt way. So I don't know. And I'm not even really sure what the point of the novel was, other than just to show that a new Citadel existed for a little while. And that was it. And I guess there's like one more Citadel that Captain Cadro had that's still out there, presumably. Because I don't remember both of the Citadels being destroyed, only one of them, by this new Citadel. So there's still a Citadel flying around out there somewhere in space-time, of which is uncertain. I don't know. According to the saga, it takes place in 353 AC. But that doesn't make sense, unless they're referencing the gods leaving as in like the cataclysm, but that was like way long ago. So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Thanks for that, by the way, Wobini. Thanks for tuning in too. Sounds a little off for Knack book. You recall most of his being fairly decent at the story. Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe if I was more invested in the characters personally, then I would have been more invested in the story. But this is really the only story that deals directly with Gwynedd in any way. And even then, it's tangential at best. Like, I don't even feel like the like, for example, Tyrus, the Red Robe Wizard, who is arguably the main character on the good guy side that you're supposed to connect with. They present him as aloof and sort of distant and a little bit annoying from the very beginning of the story. And so he goes through this whole process, and then at the end of the story, he ends up being a white robe mage because he doesn't want to follow in the footsteps of the former red robe Vulcan who turned to the black robes, who was like the big bad guy of the story. And then the big bad guy had this stupid smile smirk. You know how those self-important people who always feel like they have the upper hand, they always have this little superiority smirk, as if there's this, the little secret they know about that no one else knows about how they're going to defeat everyone. It's the most annoying thing in real life. And so it was wildly annoying in the novel. And I know it's supposed to be annoying, but what it does is make me not want to read about the character rather than engage me with the character. And that could just be a me thing. I'll admit that. General Cadrio, as a main antagonist as well, was actually the most interesting because he was passed up to be High Lord. He should have been the next High Lord. And that was like the one thing that drove him to create this new army and take over Gwynedd, was that he wanted what Kitiara was trying to do, is of an army of his own, to be the leader of this dragon army. He had black dragons on his side. He had 2 citadels on his side. I mean, by all accounts, he should have been a genuine threat. But this one wizard totally foiled all of his plans, played his officer Xander against him, and he ended up just being sort of neutered as a bad guy, which again, you don't want your bad guys to be in that place because they're no longer threats. They're sort of laughable, and you can't really be threatened by laughable characters. The dynamic between the gold dragons was really interesting, and the black dragons, there's always in pairs. I'm trying to think of what else could be interesting. The flippant throwaway use of Lemuel, the cleric of Takesis, was really, really weird. The fact that you had to kill this cleric in order to raise this citadel. There's never been like a full deep dive, other than the one that I sort of put together, of the origins of citadels and everything like that. I mean, there's stuff in Taladas, and then there's some information in War of the Lance era, but it's not enough, in my opinion, that a dungeon master could easily put together the process of raising a flying citadel in a game of their own. It's so abstract still that we have full detail about how draconians were created from good dragon eggs in full detail, but we have nothing in that detail about the citadels, which is really frustrating, because they were a huge reason why the dragon armies were a huge threat, especially Kitiara in the Blue Ladies' War was that citadel. So I just want a little bit more from this, and I did not get it. It's okay, Wobini, I know what you meant. So I don't know. It didn't land with me. And the gargoyle thing, I like the idea of these... I like the idea of monsters in general having their own interests, meaning they'll align with people because of power or because of enslavement or because of self-interest. But the minute that self-interest or abuse appears, they want to get the hell out of Dodge. And that's kind of what some of the gargoyles were going through. And so the gargoyles were arguably the most important aspect of this. They started as minions of Vulcan, and some of them ended up splintering off and actually helping the heroes, getting back into the Citadel, getting to the helm and destroying the helm. And Branchal actually healed one of the gargoyles' wings, and now there's this gargoyle culture. That's a really interesting and new addition to Dragonlance, which I think is the strength of Dragonlance novels when you add something new to the lore and the world building. And Knack did do that in this. And Knack is a good author. There's no two ways about it. this was a well put together story. I just think there's elements of it that sort of fell flat for me personally. So I don't know. I would never reread it again or revisit it for that matter. There's no lore in it that I found like I need to do a video based off of or anything. It's sort of like a throwaway book, like, oh, okay, another pulp novel, and toss it. Sith the Brick, that's what you liked about the Ogre Titans and Storyteller trilogies. Also Doom Brigade. Yeah, I still need to read the Ogre Titans and Storytellers. I have not read them yet, and I can't wait to get to them because I've heard they're good. And Doom Brigade was awesome. Awesome. So, all right. So that is my review for The Citadel by Richard A. Knack. What did you think of the story or when the story was set, now that we actually know? Did it make sense to you? Do you like this new type of Citadel that was presented in it? And finally, will we ever see Citadels in the Age of Mortals? Feel free to email me at info@dealsaga.com or leave a comment below. I would like to thank creator patron Aaron Hardy, producer patron Azrael, developer patrons Chris Androu, and Sam Ruiz. I would also like to take a moment and remind you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified about upcoming videos, and click the like button. This all goes to help other Dragonlance fans learn about this channel and its content. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga, and I hope you'll join in that celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with Dragonlance Saga, and until next time, Slàinte mhath.